Welcome back. So the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs has heard how some men opposed the requirement of first wives' consent for further marriages. The committee is visiting different provinces to gauge public opinion on the marriage bill, where participants in Mpumalanga showed some support for polygamy with emphasis on protecting women's rights. Committee chairperson Mosa Chabane joins us to let us know exactly what has taken place. Thank you so much for joining us, chairperson. We really do appreciate your time. I almost actually don't want to take for granted that our viewers exactly know what the marriage bill intends to do. Perhaps we can start there, right, with just bringing us up to speed. What is the marriage bill and what it intends to do? I know that part of it is also around recognizing Muslim marriages.
No, thanks. Good evening to you and your viewers, and thanks for inviting us. As you have indicated that there was a court judgment that ruled that certain section in the Marriage Act 1961 and Divorce Act 1979 were inconsistent or are inconsistent with the Constitution of the Republic, that it does not recognize certain marriages, including the Muslim marriages. And the directive was taken that Parliament and the President may need to remedy that anomaly. Hence, we have been engaged with the proposed bill that has been presented by Department of Home Affairs with the intention to regulate all existing marriages. So we're engaged with the public hearings to receive comments from members of the public, so that at the time we've concluded the public comments or consultation, the committee will then deliberate and engage the sponsors of this bill, which is the Department of Home Affairs, and thereafter committee deliberate for consideration by the National Assembly and ultimately the National Council of Provinces.
Okay, you also then had, so essentially the bill going to, or talking about recognizing Muslim marriages, I think incredibly important. And then in the Eastern Cape, you had some support, as you of course have been traveling across the country getting perspectives from various provinces. The Eastern Cape, for instance, seeing some support, quite a bit of support for those that prohibit child marriages, incredibly important. And a lot of support for those that want to see the age limit raised?
Well, correctly. We have started in Gauteng and then consulted in KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape, and last week we're in Mpumalanga. There are a few issues arising from the members of the public, religious community, traditional authority, and interested individuals that want to contribute on this subject matter. The issue of the age bracket for a person to participate or enter into marriages has been also under a question. The proposed bill suggests that you must be 18 years and older. And as you know, that the Constitution defines a child as any other individual who is 18 years younger. So the views of a majority of participants suggest that it must be increased to 21 years. And recently in Mpumalanga, there's also another age to 24 and 25. So those are some of the issues that are being submitted to the Portfolio Committee. The other matter that has also been submitted is also the issue around the cohabiting for Maslalisane. So these are the issues that they propose that the committee may need to look how can we regulate it. And it does not entirely arise on the proposed bill, but it's an important matter that members of the public have been raising. Other views are expressed on the same-sex marriage, strong views by the religious community, but also on the subject matter, the balanced views that are coming from within the religious sector and traditional authorities. So these are some of the areas that the committee will deliberate at the end of the public hearings.
Yeah, I mean, these are just such interesting discussions, truly. Let's get into the issue of the inclusion of polygamy in the marriage bill. It getting quite the response from Mpumalanga, and I want to hear about that because you've got, for instance, men or men's groups. Perhaps you can talk to us about who who have said, of course, we welcome the inclusion, but opposed to the requirement that a man must get the permission of the first wife in order to take a second, perhaps third, and then women opposing that.
Well, what we can say so far, our observation, and it's not a position of the committee. One is that we've observed that generally there's an acceptance of the proposed single status marriage amendment bill, but with reservation on some of the provisions which are entailed in the chapters. Even the matter that we are raising, there are expressed views by certain quarters of society in both genders in relation to the proposed provision of the polygamist marriages. There's an acceptance that the proposed marriage is affirmed because it gives the first woman authority to determine if a husband wants to get another a woman. And I think the reason that it protects their rights. There are others, males, that have been raised that it will undermine cultural practices in terms of the accepting the polygamist marriages. So these are some of the issues that are contentious in terms of the discussions or submissions by members of the public. And as I indicated, that the collective team of the portfolio committee at this particular time, we only observe and receive a submission. But principle is that it must be within the framework of the Constitution of the Republic and other protocols that we've signed that relates to the rights of persons.
Yeah, because when you talk about constitutionality, the word privilege and even oppression coming up in some of the discussions that you've been having with many of these groups, right? So there's the question around where a woman, the first wife, is not given the opportunity to give permission for the husband to take on a second or third wife, whichever it may be, that is oppressive of that wife. But this stood out for me. You had a gentleman called Nkosi Olifant Mahlangu, who is quoted as saying that women must be given the privilege to also ask their husbands if they can take a second husband. Really opening up the discussion here.
Well, correctly, because if you followed when the white paper was developed by the Department of Home Affairs and consultation throughout a spectrum of society in relation to how they can enhance the white paper and ultimately the bill that we're dealing with. The issue of polyandry arose at that particular stage and could not find expression in terms of finalization of the white paper. And even in the proposed bill that we're dealing with is not there. But you're right that the views which have also been raised by community members in relation to an opportunity to find, to explore on the issue of the polyandry that the committee may need to look at. The difficulty may be that the proposed bill deals with the clauses that have been approved by cabinet. At the particular time, the committee may need to assess all views that have been expressed, including the matter that we are raising. But at this particular time, it is not a matter that is within the framework of the amendment bill.
Right.
But it's a matter that it has only been raised by some quarters in society.
Yeah, and the reason why I bring it up, Chair, is because, I mean, when you look at just some of the contributions that are made by, the various quarters that you've been speaking to in some of the provinces, I wonder what you make about what it says around our society and certainly how it views, traditional structures of marriage and certainly the roles of men and women. From a cultural point of view, I believe that one person who also made a contribution speaking that if a young woman as a child out of wedlock, she should be given, as in allowed to marry an older person because she has done something she was not supposed to do. With inverted commas, the words that people use as their submissions to the committee. I mean, what do you make about how South Africans view the very, I suppose, structure of what a family should look like?
Well, I think this conversation, it has given us an opportunity as a society and members of various organizations, civil society, to explore on different cultural backgrounds in traditional background in relation to involvement of marriages. And this bill also gives a provision for the involvement of traditional authorities. One of the arguments which were raised in relation to the age bracket of a person being involved is that you may find that some of the spouses are still at the age of schooling. They're not matured enough to enter into marriage, and cultural backgrounds that may need to be satisfied. So these are some of the issues that have been raised by members of the community. And you're correct to say that it gives an opportunity for assessment and how society views this process of marriage within the context of traditional, cultural, and even religious space.
Yeah, a very teaching moment. Yeah, there's the tradition of ukutwala, something that I think has been a dark blotch on the way we view ourselves as, you know, with some of the traditional practices that, you know, have existed, unfortunately, where young girls are kidnapped and then forced into marriage. And I believe that the amendment speaking to that as well, can you unpack exactly what is put forward where ukutwala is concerned?
It has been raised quite sharp in Emelo, where we were in Mpumalanga. One of the groupings that it will appear that in the modern society, ukutwala becomes a forced marriage, even if you, as a woman, you are not interested to enter in that marriage. And the views that are expressed or submissions is that the Department of Home Affairs may need to consider, as we're deliberating with the committee, how they can regulate that process. But others affirm that it's practices, traditional practices that certain quarters of society implementing it, but within the framework of their cultural background. So some of the issues that are coming up strongly to the committee to consider. And I think that at the particular time when the collective team of the portfolio committee has concluded and also engaged with the Department of Home Affairs and other experts in this marriage sphere, will be able to find a proper response and how we can deal with this matter. But I think it's a matter that has been coming up strongly, ukutwala, particularly by young women, which we have observed in Mpumalanga and also in part of KwaZulu-Natal.
And I wonder, as the discussions around ukutwala then take place, if the word criminal comes up, because a kidnapping, essentially, we understand to be a crime.
Well, I will not affirm that narrative that you are bringing because I may not able to account to the views that align to your narrative. But what we can affirm is that, or confirm, is that society is beginning to, or they've been raising this matter of ukutwala as a matter that it may appear as the forced marriage that women were not able also to come out when they are involved in such a marriage, because it's a cultural practice. And I think it will be fair that the views expressed by members of the community are noted in the manner that they've made their submissions.
Yeah. No, we really do appreciate your time. What's next then? The next step for the marriage bill?
Well, we concluded in the 4 provinces. The last one was Mpumalanga. Well, the outstanding is Limpopo province, Northwest, Free State, and Northern Cape. And I think the next public hearing will be conducted in the Northwest as part of the ongoing work. And also will engage with various stakeholders when we've concluded the religious community, the traditional authority, and also the experts around the field of this marriage.
All right, thank you so much. All right, we really do appreciate it. Mosa Chabane, chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Home Affairs, speaking to us about what they've heard from various sectors of our society as they respond to the marriage bill. We'll be watching that process very closely. We take a short break. We are back in a moment. Stay with Newzroom PM, the late edition.